Good morning. This is Chairman Jim Hughes, and the special meeting of the Ohio Industrial Commission is now called to order. This meeting is being conducted telephonically and is being streamed on the Ohio Industrial Commission's YouTube channel. The link to listen to our meeting is available on our public website. This meeting is being conducted in this format as precaution against the spread of the coronavirus, COVID-19, in accordance with Substitute House Bill 404, signed into law by Governor Mike DeWine and effective on November 23rd, 2020, which extended the time period in which public bodies may hold remote meetings. The purpose of this special meeting is limited to the following: renewal agreement for Chief Medical Advisor Terrence B. Walsh, MD, LLC, approval of using web-based technology for Ohio Industrial Commission hearings. During this meeting, it is important that prior to speaking, each participant introduce themselves by stating their name and title. This is so the record accurately reflects the proceeding and the public is properly informed. I now ask our Executive Director, Mr. Tim Adams, to call the roll.
This is Tim Adams, Executive Director of the Ohio Industrial Commission. As I call your name, please restate your name and affirm your presence. Commissioner Karen Gilmore.
Commissioner Karen Gilmore, here.
Commissioner Jody Taylor.
Commissioner Taylor, here.
Chairman Jim Hughes.
Chairman Jim Hughes, present. This is Chairman Jim Hughes. Let the record show that a quorum is present. And now the floor is open to discuss renewal agreement for Chief Medical Advisor Terrence B. Walsh, MD, LLC. At this point in time, I'll call upon Mr. Tom Connor, our Director of Adjudication. Mr. Connor, good morning.
Good morning. This is Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication. The purpose of this on the agenda today is simply to get approval of the commissioners to seek the renewal of Dr. Welsh's agreement. Dr. Welsh signed the initial agreement in 2019 and has provided valuable services. I believe the hearing officers have found his input in both training and when answering questions to be very valuable. Dr. Welsh is interested in returning. It should be noted that when working through the budgetary issues of this past difficult year, Dr. Welsh did work with us and agreed to modify his contract to some extent to try to help with that issue. The intent here is to, if the commission is desirous of doing this, is to move forward and return the agreement to its original standing effective July 1st. So like I said, the purpose is to obtain the approval of the commission to move forward with the renewal of Dr. Welsh, and that will take some controlling board activity in the coming couple of months.
This is Jim Hughes, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication, for that. Are there any questions or any other further discussion for Mr. Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication? Hearing none, I, Jim Hughes, Chairman, move to approve the renewal agreement for Chief Medical Advisor Terrence B. Walsh, MD, LLC. May I have a second for this motion, please?
This is Commissioner Taylor. I will second. I didn't get to chime in quick enough to ask Tom a question.
Oh, this is Jim Hughes, Chairman. I apologize, Commissioner Taylor. Please proceed with the question that you have for Mr. Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication.
This is Commissioner Taylor. Tom, I just wanted to ask and clarify, I guess, more for the record that this is a 2-year extension.
Tom Connor, please proceed.
This is Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication. I think the intent is to do, but the intent is to go for 2 years. But I will defer to Jim Burkhart on that because I know he's been working on the drafting. I think that is the way this normally works. But since I have been working on the drafting, I'd rather that Jim speak to that.
Hi, Commissioner Taylor. This is Jim Burkhart, Chief Legal Counsel for the Ohio Industrial Commission. The current contract in place provides an option for a 2-year extension. of the agreement, and this is an opportunity for the Industrial Commission to exercise that option. We have drafted the addendum to the contract, and once the commission, if the commission so chooses, to exercise their option, then we will proceed to exercise that addendum, and it would go before the controlling board.
Okay, this is Commissioner Taylor. I just have one further follow-up question. So the contract will run from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2023. Is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner Taylor, that's correct.
This is Jim Hughes, Chairman. That was Jim Burkhart, Chief Legal Counsel, answering yes, that would. Commissioner Taylor, do you have a follow-up for that?
This is Commissioner Taylor. No, I have no further questions. Thank you.
This is Chairman Jim Hughes. Commissioner Gilmore, do you have any questions based upon Commissioner Taylor's questions?
This is Commissioner Gilmore. I don't have any questions, but I would comment that in the past, and I'm sure in the present, Dr. Welsh has done an extremely outstanding job for us and is very easy to work with, very easy to understand, and we have always found him helpful. So I'm very glad that he will be returning.
This is Chairman Jim Hughes. Thank you, Commissioner Gilmore, for those words I think are echoed by myself and our other colleague, Commissioner Taylor. Is there any more discussion on the motion that has been made? Has been properly moved and second. Hearing none, I will ask the Executive Director, Mr. Tim Adams, to call the roll, please.
This is Tim Adams, Executive Director of the Ohio Industrial Commission. As I call your name, please restate your name and state your vote. Commissioner Karen Gilmore.
Commissioner Gilmore, yes.
Commissioner Jody Taylor.
Commissioner Taylor, yes.
Chairman Jim Hughes.
Chairman Jim Hughes, yes. The motion now being passed unanimously has the proper number of votes for it to be carried. So we'll now move to the second order of our business, which is discussions regarding the approval of using web-based technology for the Ohio Industrial Commission hearings. Once again, I'll call upon Mr. Tom Connor, who's our Director of Adjudication, to talk to the Commission regarding this. Mr. Tom Connor?
This is Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication. I think as the commissioners are aware, and they've been dealing with this a little bit, you know, the telephone-based technology that we started with, some 9 or 10 months ago, was a great way of allowing us to continue to conduct hearings in a timely manner. But it is technology that really we're finding not robust enough for our volume, and it's suffering from a situation where its continued support it is not necessarily as a platform is not necessarily ensured. So the desire is to move to a web connected or web conferencing technology, which will allow for a more robust, more updated platform to conduct the hearings that should greatly reduce, if not eliminate, the dropped calls, the missing audio from calls that the outside parties and the hearing officers have been dealing with here in the last few months, especially as it seems like that is getting a little bit worse. Now, the WebEx technology does allow both video and audio. The purpose of us moving at this point, quite frankly, is to replace the telephone technology. So the need to use audio or video is not a necessary element of this. It is important to make this move, even audio only, just to get us off of the current platform and allow for a more efficient way for the hearing officers to conduct business, as well as providing some extra tools for the hearing officers to deal with the parties so that the hearings aren't interrupted when a new party joins in and that type of thing. So that is up to the commissioners as to how they want to handle video and audio, but audio only even is a big step in the right direction.
This is Jim Hughes, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication, for that. One thing I want to make sure people understand, will this hopefully help to improve any dropped calls that unfortunately we've been all experiencing with the current platform they have? Is that one of the goals of what we're trying to do here, Mr. Connor?
This is Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication. Yes, because it will. What it will do is it'll allow parties who are desirous of it, much like we're doing right here. Today's meeting of the commission has some people calling in and some people connecting through the web. It'll get traffic off of those phone connections and allow us and it's that traffic, it's that volume of traffic that drives the dropped calls and that type of problem. So that should allow for that situation to, if not eliminated, will be greatly reduced.
This is Jim Hughes, Chairman. At this point in time, I want to open up for my fellow commissioners and see if they have any questions of Mr. Tom Connor and this web-based issue that we're talking about this morning.
This is
Commissioner
Commissioner Gilmore.
Commissioner Gilmore, go right ahead.
This is Commissioner Gilmore. I just had a quick question. Mr. Connor, when would using the WebEx begin?
This is Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication. We would like to target middle of April, quite frankly. Maybe Monday, April 19th is what we're really hoping for, because we have to modify the notices a little bit. And that's been one of the challenges in trying to move in this direction is to allow for us to put information on a written notice that parties get it so that they're aware that they can either call in to a certain number or they can connect via the web into the hearing. And we've made those changes in draft form to the notice. So once we have approval of the commissioners, then we can ensure that the notices that go out for the 19th would have that new information on it.
This is Commissioner Gilmore. Thank you. I have no more questions.
This is Chairman Jim Hughes. Thank you, Commissioner Gilmore, for those questions. Does Commissioner Taylor have any questions regarding this?
This is Commissioner Taylor. Yes, I have a couple of questions, but my questions probably should be best answered by Bob Osborne. Mr. Osborne, are you there?
Commissioner Taylor, I am here. This is Bob Osborne,
Okay.
Chief Information Officer.
Thank you. This is Commissioner Taylor. Bob, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions regarding some information on, how many calls are we, what's our current volume on the bridge right now?
At present, I can't give you an exact number. I'm sorry, this is Bob Osborne, Chief Information Officer. I can't give you an exact volume because the number of parties that call in per hearing, but at present we are running 3 hearings per hour at 7 hours per day, and approximately 5 parties to each hearing. So I don't have those numbers directly in front of me. I apologize, but the volume is quite large, and moving from the bridge line to the WebEx session would reduce greatly the number of calls coming in across telephone lines.
Okay, this is Commissioner Taylor. So I have, I guess I'm trying to just get a general grasp. So the information you gave me is fine. 7 hours of hearings per day, and that's per hearing officer, and that's 3 per hour, and about 5 per hearing of parties are attending. So you can get up to 15 parties on a bridge line in 1 hour. And if that's incorrect, let me know. So what information do you have on the volume of calls that are being dropped? How are we able to track those?
This is Bob Osborne, Chief Information Officer. Unfortunately, the bridge lines are contracted through CBTS, and as this product has been deprecated or end-of-lifed, they are unable to provide support beyond a, for lack of a better term, red light, green light scenario, meaning that the bridges are answering or the bridges are not answering calls. We have asked, as we've experienced these issues, for them to dig in deeper and give us connectivity rates and failure rates, and they are unable to do so at this point in time.
Okay, this is Commissioner Taylor. So when you say, what is CPTS?
This is Bob Osborne, Chief Information Officer. CBTS is the contractor that provides the bridge line services as contracted through the Office of Information Technology.
And this is Commissioner Taylor. The Office of Information Technology is through DAS. Is that correct?
Bob Osborne, Chief Information Officer. Yes, Mr. Taylor, that's correct.
All right. This is Commissioner Taylor. So we switch over to the web-based, how is that going to be different than the bridge line? I mean, other than getting on the web, are we still going to be able to, I mean, I guess I'm asking, where is that being contracted from, and who's going to be handling that?
This is Bob Osborne, Chief Information Officer. We will still be using the Office of Information Technology through DAS. Additionally, we will be using Cisco, who provides the WebEx services. And for those that dial in, CBTS will still be involved. However, their involvement is different in that it's just a handoff onto Cisco's system. So what's different is that in the current bridge line, CBTS handles all connectivity. In the new scenario, Cisco's infrastructure will be the active infrastructure. CBTS will be passing the conversation over for those who choose to dial in. Outside of that, those who choose to join via the web or via a desktop client will be using their internet connectivity. And in more instances than not, we have a number of customers who have better internet connectivity than they do cell phone service as they're dialing in. So we expect to see the improvement in service from that respect.
Okay, this is Commissioner Taylor. So Cisco is going to be handling it, and I guess my question is our contract going to be with Cisco, or is it going to be with OIT still?
This is Bob Osborne, Chief Information Officer. Our contract remains with OIT. The lines are billed at a rate per month, and the contract was just reinitiated or re-signed, I apologize, from OIT with Cisco, and it's for a period of 2 years. We do not have to sign a 2-year agreement. Ours is month to month.
Okay, month to month agreement. All right, thank you, Bob. This is Commissioner Taylor, and I still have, I guess, a couple of questions for Tom Connor. Tom, right now, my understanding is that when the commission approved doing telephone hearings, we approved them to only authorize telephone hearings, and then I think it's up until otherwise directed by the commission. And I guess my question is, are we conducting video hearings, and could you set forth the circumstances that we are conducting video hearings versus audio hearings?
This is Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication. The only hearings outside of telephone that we've been conducting is using the Teams format in situations where there is a hearing impaired situation, where we're trying to use either an American Sign Language interpreter or a closed captioning function. And obviously you need to have a video component to do that. So we had not been conducting hearings in those claims for a period of time in hopes that things were going to change. But when the months went by without much change, the only way we could offer hearings to those folks with a hearing impairment was to use the Teams technology. Absent that issue, all the other hearings are going forward via telephone.
And this is Commissioner Taylor. Would, under the web-based, would they still, the hearing impaired people, I guess, hearings involving hearing impaired employers or injured workers, would they be able to participate still via the video option, or would they have to still do the Teams format that you just referenced?
This is Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication. I believe right now the closed captioning, if that is required, although we're looking at a solution, we think one of our interpretive services can help us with that. That is a challenge because some of the providers like Teams offer it, whereas WebEx may not. If the sign language is the method of that is required, then just the video component is enough. The parties can, even if the hearing officer is not conducting the hearing using the video technology, the parties can still participate that way. So especially in those situations, someone could do that and then be able to view the sign language interpreter.
Okay. And this is Commissioner Taylor. I probably have one more question, and I'm not sure, Bob or Tom. So if we approve this, the web-based, what needs to be done does anything need to be added to the laptops that we just rolled out? How I guess I'm just wondering, is that something that the hearing officers are going to have to bring back in? And I'm just wondering how that's going to work.
This is Bob Osborne, Chief Information Officer. We will not have the hearing officers need to come back into the office. We are able to remotely distribute software, and we have tested that. The hearing officers will use the WebEx client, which will be pushed to all of their laptops to make this connection. In that absence, they still have the ability to manage a connection via a web browser if they so chose.
All right, this is Commissioner Taylor. Those are all the questions I have. Thank you.
This is Chairman Jim Hughes. Thank you, Commissioner Taylor, for your questions. Does Commissioner Dr. Karen Gilmore have any questions based upon questions or the answers she heard from Commissioner Taylor's questions to either Bob, our Director of Computer, or Mr. Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication?
This is Commissioner Gilmore. I do have a couple. One is one question, and either gentleman can respond, has the privacy been addressed, particularly for the hearing officers, so that if they choose to do video from their homes won't be revealed. There will be a format behind them that is somewhat neutral.
This is Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication. There's a variety of ways, obviously, this can be handled. I mean, if the commission desires, we can move forward, at least at this beginning period, to replace the telephone connectivity we've been using, audio only. If that's the case, the hearing officers have the ability to either just turn off their camera or not connect using the video at all. And what will happen is that the parties, as they connect into the meeting, will just see, if you happen to be using the web now, it shows every person's initials who's on the meeting. That won't be the case because this is connected to a hearing room. So what it'll just say is IC would be the hearing officer's initials without the cameras turned on. If it's desirous of the commission to leave it up to the hearing officers, the hearing officer would have a way of setting the background to what people would see, to either the IC kind of background, or it can be a blurred background, or it can be in some of the other things that we can do to help with that privacy issue. So it starts with what the commission, how they desire the hearing officers to use the technology. And then if the video is a part of that, there's things we can do to make it so that really nobody can view anything behind the hearing officer.
This is Commissioner Gilmore. Thank you, Mr. Connor. I have another question for you as well. Has the union been consulted about this change? And if so, what was their input?
This is Tom Connor, Director of Adjudication. Yes, I did. I've talked to a variety of hearing officers, and then I specifically spoke to the president, Matt Tyack. And there is a reluctance. You mentioned the privacy issue or whatnot. There is a reluctance kind of to jump right in using video technology for the hearings. I don't think there's any reluctance. In fact, I think it will be met with much enthusiasm. Anything that gets rid of the problem with the bridge lines that we're having using the audio only. But I think the video part of it there is still a reluctance to do that for a variety of reasons. Maybe unfamiliarity, whether that's forever or in a few months, if we're still doing this, that some of that view may change. But I think as a starting point, that is the only reluctance I'm hearing is the using video, not at all to moving to the audio portion.
This is Commissioner Gilmore. Thank you, Mr. Connor. I would like to make the observation that perhaps the commissioners now would like to discuss whether this vote today, if it succeeds in using WebEx, is limited only to the time of the pandemic.
This is Chairman Jim Hughes. Are you asking Commissioner Gilmore for discussion between the three of us in terms of that right now? Commissioner Gilmore, this is Jim Hughes, Chairman. Did you hear my question? This is Chairman Jim Hughes. Am I still on the call with everybody?
This is Commissioner Taylor. I can hear you, Jim.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Gilmore, this is Jim Hughes. Are you still with us? This is Jim Hughes. Commissioner Gilmore, are you still with us? We'll be at ease while I ask Mr. Stephen Kramer to please double check and make sure we have Commissioner Gilmore back on the line or whatever technical difficulties we were having.
This is Commissioner Gilmore. My call dropped off.
This is Jim Hughes, Chairman. I think this is the reason we're having this this meeting right now. So thank you very much for that. We're glad you're back on the phone call. What I was asking is if you want to have a discussion in terms of what you mentioned during just the COVID-19 situation. Is that what you're asking right now, to have that discussion with yourself, myself, as well as Commissioner Taylor?
This is Commissioner Gilmore. Yes, I thought we might want to talk about whether the vote today would be limited to just the time of the pandemic that we're currently experiencing, or whether we want to talk about whether it should be audio only, or whether there would be the choice of audio or video.
Thank you. This is Jim Hughes, Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner Gilmore, for that. What I was going to do after we get the discussion, my motion that I was contemplating making was to prove the use of web-based technology for audio, but also allow it for those hearing impaired people that we have, to make sure they are included in the video part of that, because we want to make sure they can participate in terms of that. If you want to have me amend it, I want to hear what Commissioner Taylor has to say, but I'd be open to, if you want to limit this just to the pandemic, we can do that too. But I want to that's what at least I was thinking in my mind, and would love to hear both commissioners' opinion in terms of what the proposed motion that at least I had in my mind. So either one of you two could respond, if you would, please.
This is Commissioner Taylor. I think in the past, what we have done as for the, we have not limited it just to during the pandemic. And my understanding from the prior meetings that we've had talking with Tom and understanding the hearing process, you know, if it's determined that effective a date, let's say June 1st or July 1st, and I'm just throwing those dates out there, not that I have any insight, but if that's the date that then we decide that we're going to return to in-person hearings and return to the hearing room, we have to give ourselves some time, because just because, you know, a week before on, you know, May 25th, the governor decides that we can go back into our hearings and return to the state buildings, we have a 3-week lag period because we have to give notices, and we can't just stop hearings. Otherwise, people go without benefits, and employers go without having recourse. So what we have done in the past is to say these motions are that these, I guess, authorizations to conduct telephone hearings were until otherwise directed by the commission. And that would give us the time that we need if we get, a last minute return to the state offices permission. That gives us still an opportunity to conduct the hearings we need to conduct while, doing a transition back into the hearing rooms without stopping hearings and stopping people's rights and to appear in front of us and have us decide their workers' compensation disputes. So I would keep it as we have for all the other motions, authorizing whatever we decide today until otherwise directed by the commission. As for whether it's audio or video, I can tell you I'm not supportive of a video option. I think, and it should not be left up to the hearing officers. We need to make the decision today whether we're going to authorize audio only or audio and video. So I feel very strongly that the audio works fine for us right now. I'm hoping that eventually this summer we'll get back into in-person hearings, and so I'm not willing. I don't think we've really researched the video issue, just because of the privacy concerns, security concerns. These are all things that I think the video has a lot more, I guess, red flags for me. So I would be supportive of an audio only, and except for when dealing with hearing impaired participants, and those could be video, obviously, and I would limit it to until otherwise directed by the commission. So that way, it gives us our time that we could transition back to in-person hearings when we get down to that point.
This is Jim Hughes, Chairman. Commissioner Gilmore, would you like to respond, or your thoughts in terms of the discussion and the points that Commissioner Taylor just brought?
This is Commissioner Gilmore. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would say that I would agree with the points that Commissioner Taylor made, and also with the portion of your motion that you delineated, in that it would be audio only, except for the hearing impaired.
This is Jim Hughes, Chairman. Thank you. Is there any other discussion before I proceed to make a motion? This is Jim Hughes, Chairman. Hearing none, hearing no further discussion, I move to approve the use of web-based technology audio for the Ohio Industrial Commission hearings, except for those hearings that are dealing with hearing impaired, which may be for visual if necessary, and this will stay in place unless otherwise directed by the commission. Do I have a second to that motion?
This is Commissioner Taylor. I will second your motion.
Thank you. This is Jim Hughes. This is the Chairman. This is properly moved and seconded. I'll now call the Executive Director, Mr. Tim Adams, to call the roll.
This is Tim Adams, Executive Director of the Ohio Industrial Commission. As I call your name, please restate your name and state your vote. Commissioner Karen Gilmore.
Commissioner Karen Gilmore, yes.
Commissioner Jody Taylor.
Commissioner Jody Taylor, yes.
Chairman Jim Hughes.
Chairman Jim Hughes, yes. Tabulating the motion, it passes unanimously. It does have necessary votes to carry. At this point in time, I want to thank Commissioner Dr. Karen Gilmore and Commissioner Jody Taylor for their attendance in this public meeting. On this, I would move to adjourn this special public meeting. Do I have a second for this?
This is Commissioner Taylor. I will second to adjourn.
It's been properly moved and seconded. At this point in time, do we have any objection to that? Hearing none, this public meeting is now, special meeting is now ended. Thank you all for your attendance.